Now, MPs are warning that China's efforts to downplay the coronavirus pandemic in its early stages cost lives and is hindering the fight against the disease. The Commons Foreign Affairs Committee claims the country where the virus originated had sought to, quote, obfuscate over what was really happening. What does China think about all this? I'm joined now by Minister Ma Hui of the Chinese Embassy in London. Thank you for joining us. So the accusation is that you've not been honest or open about what was happening in the early stages of the epidemic in Wuhan.
No, I couldn't accept that. But first of all, let me say this. Our thoughts are with those who lost their loved ones and also those people who are infected with the virus, perhaps including the Prime Minister. The Chinese government has been very open, transparent, and responsible in sharing the information with the world, including with the United States and many other countries.
Yeah, but the official line on December the 31st was there was no clear evidence of human-to-human transmission. But we know there were more than, doctors have told us, there were more than 100 cases and 15 deaths in Wuhan between December the 12th and the end of the month. And it was still the official line in January the 20th that there was still no human-to-human transmission. But doctors were being infected and dying, and many people were being infected and dying.
I think you are talking about the initial first month of the outbreak of the epidemic. To say when the first 3 cases were detected on the 27th of December, and then China ordered a lockdown of Wuhan and the Hubei province on the 23rd of January. A lot of things has happened actually during this 27 days. And this is a new virus, and we were working very hard to find out what was the virus, because originally the Dr. Zhang Jixian, reported on the 27th of December that 3 cases of pneumonia with unknown causes were spotted. So she reported to the authorities, health authorities, local governments, and local health commission, and the National Health Commission and the CDC of China were working very hard to identify this. What is this virus? So initially, they said there was limited evidence of human-to-human transmission. But when a very senior expert group from the National Health Commission was sent to Wuhan, led by perhaps the most well-known Chinese respiratory and expert, Dr. Zhou Nanshan, and then decided that it carries human-to-human transmission.
But Minister Ma, your Dr. Li Wenliang, who later died from the virus, sent out a warning on the WhatsApp group on December the 30th. 4 days later, he was arrested and accused of making false statements. But he was right. Why did you arrest him and accuse him of making false statements? He turned out to be right.
I'm a little bit surprised that people come back again and again on the case of Dr. Li Wenliang. Let me say this. Dr. Li Wenliang was not a whistleblower. As I mentioned earlier, Dr. Zhang Jixian, a doctor of the ICU, director of ICU of the Wuhan Hospital of Chinese and Western medicine, first reported the cases and reported to the Chinese government, both locally and the national government, and the local health commissions and the central government acted upon her advice, her report, and the government sprang into action. With regard to Dr. Li Wenliang, first of all, he was an eye doctor. He was not a respiratory doctor. He was not an epidemiologist. He only he was sharing information on a WeChat group.
Yes, but he was saying that there was infection. Doctors were getting infected. Doctors were getting infected, and that people were getting infected in quite large numbers. So he said there was human-to-human transmission.
Let me say this. At that time, when he was sharing the information in his WeChat group, the government has already taken action. The government was investigating the case to identify what kind of a virus this was. Of course, he was not sharing very accurate information, but with hindsight.
Okay, so the charge, sorry to interrupt you, but the charge is that the delay meant that the other countries around the world could not prepare and that it may have cost lives. So my other question is, why did you close travel from Hubei province to the rest of China at around Chinese New Year, but flights to places like London and Paris and Rome and New York were kept open?
Well, perhaps there are two levels of the issue. One is that the Hubei authorities indeed stopped issuing passports for people to travel outside the Hubei province, let alone outside China. So the Chinese government already warned against travel unless it is not essential. So not many people are traveling outside Wuhan or outside Hubei. On another level, other governments could have taken actions. Actually, the United States imposed a travel ban on the 2nd of February for Chinese travelers or other travelers who went through China in the past 14 days. So you cannot blame China for inaction on the part of some other governments. They could have taken some actions like screening Chinese visitors to their countries and determine whether they are infected or not.
Okay, so let me ask you this. So yeah, I understand. So let me ask you this. Have you determined exactly where the virus came from? Did it come from a wet market in Wuhan?
No, not yet. Originally, it was thought the virus might have come from the wet markets because some of the patients were associated with the market. But it is equally true that some of the patients that doctors saw had no contact with the wet markets. So the exact origin of the virus has not yet been determined yet.
So it's possible it came from a virology laboratory in Wuhan. Is that at all possible? That's been mentioned.
Not possible. No, I mean, of course, the origin of the virus should be determined by scientists and experts and doctors. So we should leave this issue to the doctors, to the scientists. But overall,
but is it possible? Sorry to interrupt you. Is it possible it came from a virology laboratory in Wuhan?
You let me finish. If you asked the question, I'll give you an answer.
Yeah.
Many scientists have published an academic paper saying that the virus was the product of the nature. So they have ruled out the possibility of a virus engineered in the lab, which means the conspiracy theories of a virus originating from a Chinese lab or from a US lab was not founded at this stage. So we better leave this important issue to the science.
Okay.
It's an important issue.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Now,
rather than disseminating misinformation.
Yeah, have you closed down, I know you say you've closed down some of the wet markets. Can you guarantee that they will stay closed? Will you stop the wet markets reopening?
Let's say this. Let's first talk about the wet markets in Wuhan, the city. As far my information is, the market remain closed and has not yet opened. Whether it will open or not, now it's waiting for government notice. But I can also share you with the information that the Chinese parliament has adopted a decision to ban illegal wildlife trade and also the consumption of the meat of wild animals. So there will be measures to follow up with this decision. So I guess the law enforcement departments will enforce that decision and will impose
just finally,
illegal wildlife trade.
Yeah, just finally, what is the true number of dead in your country? Can you promise the world, can you guarantee the world that the numbers you are giving or have given are your best and honest judgment?
Look, don't be cynical. This is an epidemic, and China is a big country, and also there are so many foreign journalists who are digging groups in China. So it's to hide, and the official figures stand at around 3,300 people who died of coronavirus, and we have been very open, transparent, and responsible. And those who say China lied or China gave a wrong figure, they didn't produce any evidence. And the joint missions to China commented that the figures, statistics from the Chinese side are credible. So better rely on the expert advice of the WHO rather than some people making up the figures.
Okay.
And of course,
Ma Hui, I'm sorry.
At this very important time, we need to work together. Solidarity is important rather than blaming or spreading disinformation.
Okay, Ma Hui, Minister Ma Hui, we appreciate your time, and we wish all the best to the people of China. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Stay safe, stay strong for the UK.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.